Good afternoon, Aspen Climate. I hope you're ready for some fresh perspective this evening, because I'm here as a member of the visiting Fresh Coast delegation, representing the Great Lakes and my great home state of Illinois. Yes, applause for Illinois. Bring the applause. But thank you to our hosts and everyone here for welcoming us to Miami and your beautiful ocean coast. It is always a joy to be in Miami, but especially in early March in Chicago. It's great to be down in Florida. So my name's Alaina Harkness. I serve as the executive director of Current, and we're a Chicago-based nonprofit water innovation hub with a mission to grow the inclusive blue economy, accelerate innovation, and solve pressing water challenges. But I'm also, as of this month, deeply honored to serve as the founding CEO of the Great Lakes Water Innovation Engine, or Great Lakes Renew. Great Lakes Renew is one of 10 inaugural National Science Foundation regional innovation engines. I don't know if you've heard about them, but they're very exciting. They're coalitions across the country that collectively are positioned to receive up to $1.6 billion in federal funding. Yes, applause for $1.6 billion. From the CHIPS and Science Act. And it's all about accelerating discovery, deployment, and technologies that will be critical to our country's future, and in particular, our country's climate future. So what is more critical to our future than our fresh water? Renew is a historic win for water innovation and inclusive economies in the Great Lakes region. But most importantly, it's a huge win for fresh water, the often overlooked resource in our clean energy transition and our climate journey. And that is what we're here to talk about tonight. So joining me on stage in a moment are two Illinois champions of freshwater conservation, innovation, and an equitable climate transition. Dr. Bridget Coughlin, the president and CEO of Chicago's Shedd Aquarium, a leading institution of learning and conservation research, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, a champion of climate action and all things chips and science. So that's right, people, buckle up, because this is the fish and chips fireside. So join me, I hope you're hungry for a great conversation. Join me now in welcoming to the stage Governor J.B. Pritzker and Dr. Bridget Coughlin. Folks in the audience might be wondering, why are we centering this conversation here around freshwater when it represents just 3% of our water resources here on Earth?
First of all, I know it's afternoon, but how about at least a chuckle for her fresh perspective intro? Well done.
The water puns.
The water puns are numerous. So there is no climate action, there is no climate solution without fresh water. And my job here this afternoon is to convince you all that fresh water boxes above its weight class. So we all know that our planet is misnamed. It should be named water, not Earth. But seriously, if we looked back on it in space, we would have named it water. No shade to the terrestrials in the audience. So our globe is 70% water. Only 1% of that is accessible fresh water. And of that 1%, the reason why Illinois is up here is that 20% are the Great Lakes. 20% of all the fresh water, that includes accessible aquifers, and depends on what geologist you talk to, it's either 20 or 25, is the Great Lakes. So between Canada and the United States, 5% of the world's population has access to 25% of the fresh water available in the world. And we're also here to convince you that we are not in the experience economy or the fossil fuel economy. We are living in the freshwater economy, and we're thrilled that Aspen Climate has given time for fresh water today.
Yeah, applause for that. Governor Pritzker, as threats to freshwater habitats increase, there have actually been some rollbacks in protection. So can you talk about how Illinois has moved urgently to recognize and address this issue?
We have, thank you. And let me just say, to follow up Bridget's comment, you know, that old expression, you know, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. We have plenty of water to drink. And indeed, we understand that it is our obligation to protect the fresh water that we live next to and that is all around us in the state of Illinois. So we've also recognized that, at least at the federal level, so many rollbacks of protective regulations and laws that occurred, a few years ago. We're all still recovering from that, and especially in the state of Illinois, where I'll be honest with you, I don't think we were doing what we should have been doing even when the regulations were in place. And so when I came into office, we immediately joined the U.S. Climate Alliance. We immediately had to staff our EPA in the state of Illinois, which was about at half staff. When I got there, we had gone 2 years without a budget, which I won't bore you with, but suffice to say we had a lot of work to do. So we've moved aggressively to try to restore what we should have had and to move Illinois ahead. So I'll just give a few examples. We need obviously climate resilient water systems. We need to make sure that we've joined the America the Beautiful 30 by 30. We're focused on making sure that every aspect of our freshwater systems are being protected in every way we can. Have we done it all perfectly? No, but we are headed in the right direction in almost every category, in my view. So these are the things that at least I think about. I feel like we're, again, a bad pun, but that we're swimming up a waterfall while we're trying to get all this done, just because there's so much to do and it feels like there's so little time to do it in. But I'm very proud of the accomplishments that we've made. We've beefed up regulations. We've made sure that we have the right people in the right places to protect. And I'm working alongside, I have to say, the Shedd Aquarium and other advocates in Illinois to make sure that we're not missing something. What is it that we need to do that we don't know about? Because that is the worst, is the unknown unknowns, I guess, right? And so making sure that, that I'm listening to the folks who have been at this for decades in order to make the advances that are necessary.
And when I hear that, we give the governor and any legislative body out there one word, which is wetlands. Because wetlands in this America the Beautiful are 30 by 30, preserving 30% of the land. Wetlands are incredible. This is going to amaze all of you. This is going to be, I'm sure, what you talk about at a cocktail hour after this. I mean, not after this, stay for everybody and then leave. 50% of all fish species are freshwater species. So if we've talked a lot at this conference about biodiversity hotspots and ecological solutions and nature solutions, the fish are telling us why wetlands are so important. 50% of all fish species are in that 1% of water. So they're biodiversity hotspots. They are massive carbon sinks. Acre by acre, wetlands are better carbon sinks than any terrestrial forest. Because of the way, now I'm going to talk about sediment turbidity and really bore everybody. Carbon sinks, 1 acre of wetlands can absorb 1.5 billion gallons of flooding. So flood mitigation, carbon sinks, biodiversity hotspots, and economic drivers. Wetlands, that's the answer.
Yeah. Well, you've both spoken to the power of people and partnerships that are driving all of this, but also to the complexity and why water so often, I think, flows under the radar, because it's everywhere and it's connected to everything. And at some point, you have to kind of set the table for a particular challenge and start to address it. So I wonder if we could talk a little bit more about the partnerships that it takes to get this big, challenging, ambitious work done. Bridget, Shedd's been a champion of a number of cross-sector tables and partnerships. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
It's easy for all of us to be in our echo chambers because it's our lifeblood. It's what we think about. Shedd sees 2 million guests a year. We are your megaphone, every single topic. We heard from the Nature Conservancy early today that everyone reports that climate is an issue, and only 8% feel that they are activated. We are your activation channel. So we are your partner to the public. We do our conservation research, we apply it, but we are your amplification of all this work. But I would love for you, she just came from Washington, D.C. and got a $160 million NSF grant for partnerships. You have to say more about that.
Yeah, well, it speaks to the power of the big table for a big idea. I mean, our vision was really build water technology in the Great Lakes, but make it for the world. There's global water challenges that the world is facing that we have the know-how to solve right here in the Great Lakes and in Illinois. So Great Lakes Renew is really about setting the table and galvanizing more than 60 partners to set the big ambitious vision, have a 10-year time horizon, and just hit the ground running to get things done. I mean, it's really about leveraging the research partnerships, the entrepreneurs, the investors, like everybody that has a shared realization that there's opportunity here in solving freshwater and solving the water crisis. There's going to be new jobs, there's going to be new businesses, and we want those to be right here in Illinois and in the Great Lakes.
Can I just add the kind of the blue-green economy? I really believe that everything about our move toward climate action can be about job creation and can be about economic growth. And we're already seeing that in Illinois, and we've focused ourselves on making sure those things are hand in hand. It's not this isn't a punitive endeavor. This is good for everybody, and it's good for everybody. And so climate justice is built in, for example, to everything that we think about doing. Indeed, I have to say that so proud that we have Alaina and Current in Illinois, and so proud that you won. We played a small part in just advocating, but I mean, what you're accomplishing is just, I mean, for us and for, a Midwestern Rust Belt manufacturing state, as people think of us, we are trying to be transformative, and Alaina is helping lead the way.
It's the secret. We all just like each other in Illinois. That's like, come to Illinois. Everyone just supports each other all the time. So this is a perfect segue into Aspen is all about taking great ideas, bringing them to life, and taking them to scale. So it can be hard to know when you're working on something really complicated and setting out a vision that's going to take, a decade to come to fruition. Where are those points where this is really working, we got to lean in and take it to scale? Have there been moments where you've seen that and something that, long-term vision but short-term path to scale?
Well, I mean, I'll bore you if I go to every one of those things. I mean, suffice to say that I'm a big believer that if you want transformation, by the way, government tends to move at a snail's pace. We all know that. And I came out of business before I was governor. And so the idea that you could get government to move at, something like a normal pace is just, it's a huge challenge. Having said that, I believe that we need to be revolutionary in the way we think. So just to, I mean, it's a ancillary topic, I guess, but since you ask, for example, quantum computing is something that just when you think about where we have been, and it doesn't probably affect any of our lives in this room on a daily basis, but 10 years from now, it will be transforming, frankly, society. And why do I mention it? Because it will transform the way we deal with climate. Because our ability to act and react will be much faster as a result of the development of quantum. And I do believe that if we shape our economy, in the right way, that you're an entrepreneur. I mean, I just want to say you're an entrepreneur, and maybe people look at you and say you're a nonprofit leader or that you're a climate action advocate, but you are an entrepreneur, and what does that mean to me? It means that you're starting small and revolutionizing an arena, and to me, that's what we need to do about everything, especially around clean energy, climate, and doing the things that are necessary for Illinois. And I have to worry about Illinois. By 2050, we're going to be carbon free. We're not going to be using fossil fuels. We've literally passed, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, and that was a kernel of an idea that I don't think anybody thought we could do in a large manufacturing Midwest industrial state, but we did it. We're the first state in the Midwest to do it, and I think we have the best system for getting from here to there, getting out of coal, getting out of natural gas, making sure that we have renewables. We're on our way. But to me, that's the entrepreneurial spirit is what is going to make sure we get from here to there quickly.
Yeah. Bridget, Shed's had some incredibly interesting and maybe surprising partners for an aquarium in some of the goals that you're pursuing. Do you want to talk about some of the partnerships that have really helped drive your work to scale?
We think of all partnerships, surprise, surprise, like an ecosystem, right? And so how do you know that a decade-long arc is going to work? You map out the whole ecosystem. And we've heard over and over again over the last couple days, you just heard it this afternoon about get the content, but then get linkages with partnerships. And so at Shedd Aquarium, by the way, we have an 80-foot research vessel that we have for decades in the Miami River. And it goes down and it does coral work, grouper work, shark tagging, and partnerships with the University of Miami, which would be a big partner, and then hyper-local communities, neighbors, ship captains. And this idea to map an ecosystem, you need every single species to play, and sometimes we're the alpha, and sometimes we're not the alpha, to use another animal metaphor. But this idea that whatever the partnership is, someone needs to make sure that it's not a tree falling in a forest, right? So this is not a plug for zoos and accredited aquariums, but it kind of is. More people come to zoos and aquariums, accredited zoos and aquariums in the United States than all the major sports teams combined, NBA, NFL. And so this idea that partnerships have to have tendrils, you have to have eyes watching you. You're going to be impactful. You're going to make sure that the ROI works and the entrepreneurial spirit. But boy, nothing helps partners be more accountable than the populace looking at them.
Yeah.
And so putting it on a public stage, having eyes on you, whether they're directly germane to the partnership or not, visibility. And so shedding light on things and the visibility is just of paramount importance.
Yeah. So for our last question, I want to come back to a place, Governor, where you brought us thinking about the economic opportunity that this climate transition presents. And we know, I think all of us now, that the communities and people that are bearing the disproportionate burden of climate change, but also of our challenges with water, flooding, all of it, are disproportionately borne by these communities of color. So what are some advice or examples you can give to us about how you've centered justice and equity? You started to talk a little bit about this, but it's going to be critical to making sure that actually, in the words of the NSF, that we have innovation enabled everywhere, anywhere, and opportunity everywhere. That's really what this is all about.
Well, I guess the best demonstration of our willingness to focus on this came from the renaming of CEJA, and the name of our climate bill is the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. There's a reason. Equitable jobs are hugely important. If we're going to have a new energy industry, it cannot be an energy industry that is devoid of Black and brown people. It is devoid of communities who have been left out and left behind. So much of what we focus on, everything in our government, to be honest with you, has an eye toward equity, but specifically in this transformative period where we are all addressing the environment, clean energy, and a whole lot of change. That's, to me, the making sure that we have an eye on that at every moment. So CEJA has, for example, workforce development that is focused on precisely the people, the communities have been left out. It has an element of focus on environmental justice. We have communities that, where there are coal plants that are going to be shut down. How we manage that transition, hugely important, because those people are going to be, if we don't do this right, they're going to be impacted in a terribly negative way. And then we have, of course, the problem of the leftover environmental damage that's been done mostly in communities of color, and how we, transition dealing with those and partnering with the federal government and making sure we have private partners even that are focused on helping us clean up we have a long way to go, but I assure you that we've put programs in place that are, we're providing, for example, infrastructure loans, long-term, low-interest rate infrastructure loans to communities that have never had appropriate water infrastructure, just to give one example, whether it's wastewater, stormwater, or anything else. And then final thing I'll add is that we're an agricultural state. I talk about us being an industrial state, but 75% of the land mass of Illinois, is agriculture. We're the largest producer of soybeans in the country, the second largest producer of corn. So runoff, for example, and helping, those communities that are around, the rural areas of Illinois, to manage that better is part of what we're focused on.
And the strength of CEJA that you've embedded is that visibility, an air of transparency, and numeracy. This is not a theoretical equity. This is not a conceptual equity. It is a tractable, numeric, benchmark, equitable, and you've provided great visibility. So it is that truism of if it matters, measure it, and let people see it.
Yeah. Well, let's close this out on an optimistic note. So I think we can all see the grand challenge of inventing new solutions to water must create new prosperity for all Americans and from coast to coast and all the Great Lakes and Great Rivers in between. So please, I hope everyone was inspired today. Keep fresh water in the conversation. It's going to be critical to our climate future. And please join me in thanking Dr. Bridget Coughlin and Governor J.B. Pritzker.